A lot of people are looking for ways to live a better life. They read, they go online, they just research all these different ways to be a better person or to improve their life, whether it be emotionally, financially, whatever. But I think we're missing something. And so on this episode today, I want to talk about what we can learn from dogs that are going to help us in our lives. We'll talk about it next. All right, let's get this week's episode going. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Learn, Laugh, Bark podcast. I am your host, Jake from OnDog Training Academy.com. We are an online dog training company. We have a course out that I always recommend people check out because I think it's awesome. We also have a free webinar on our website right now that talks about consistency, and I would definitely recommend people check it out, listen to it. It's free, and it can be super helpful for everybody. We also do one-on-one virtual lessons. And I'm telling you guys, we've had a lot of fun with these. It's a good time. Our setup is really unique where we can help you guys. You can see us, we can see you. Obviously, that's how virtual works. But the setup we have is awesome when it comes to being able to see our classroom, working with us, seeing our dogs, and being able to see you guys. So it's unique. It's cool. Check it out. OnDogTrainingAcademy.com. Enough of that. I want to talk today about a little bit different, I would say, from what I normally talk about. Like, I feel like I talk a lot about, like, what dogs can do for us physically, like service dog stuff helping us, what we can do for our dogs. I talk about behavioral stuff. We talk about a lot of different things. But on today's episode, I wanted to talk about what we can learn from observing dogs. I think this is something that maybe we overlook. And I think to a degree, we're already doing this. Like, I think dogs force us. And I'll explain in a little bit. They kind of force us to observe them and kind of do certain things. But if we just watch how most dogs act and most dogs are, we could learn so much from them. So this is going to try to be more of a positive. I try to keep all my podcasts positive, but this is going to be a pretty positive episode where we're just gonna enjoy the awesome things that dogs can bring to our lives. And you know, there's a ton more. You know, I came up with a huge list, but I'm like, you know what? We got to keep this episode, like all the others, relatively short, not too super long. So maybe we'll come back to this later and talk more about it. But I took 5 of them that I really liked, and I want to just talk about those. And the first one is dogs are really good at living in the moment. Now, you could say, well, what about, dogs who have had traumatic stuff, whatever. Dogs live in the moment. So whatever's in front of them for that day, that's what they're going to deal with. They don't think and care as much about the past. They don't think about, 6 years ago, I lost my job. Or for a dog, I guess it'd be like, 6 years ago, you forgot to feed me, and it was just horrible. I just won't forget that. Or the dog's not going to go, and this is, I think, a benefit to dogs. They're not going to go, oh, man, you know what, and, I'm starting a new job in a week or something like that, and you have that worry and stuff like that you have to deal with. Dogs aren't going like, oh, man, he's going to take me for a walk in 3 days, and there's that dog down the street, and what if that dog comes out and barks at me? Like, am I going to bark back at it? Like, the dogs just don't have that type of forward thinking. But I think if we just take something from that, that we should be focusing on living in the moment more. We get so bogged down by past things that have happened, future things that are coming up, bills, whatever's going to be due, all these different things. If we just take a moment and just look at where we are and just live in the moment and take it in, I think it's so valuable. Just taking that, just stopping for a second and taking a break. We get caught up on being on our phones and what this person said and all this different stuff. If we can just put our phones down, and I'm guilty of this, I can promise you I'm guilty of this. If we could just put our phones down and just hang out outside with our dogs. And like my dog will go outside and he'll sniff the air, and I'm sitting there watching him because I have my phone on me, but I try not to have my phone out as much as I can help. But my dog will sit there and sniff the air. So then I mimic him. I'm like, what do you smell, bud? And whether I smell something or not, whatever, sometimes, you smell the rain coming, or you smell just mowed grass, or we live around a farm area, so sometimes there's smells that aren't pleasant that he seems to enjoy that I wouldn't. But you smell the hay that just got cut, or whatever's going on. It's just living in the moment and just taking in what's around you at that time. If you guys aren't aware, I have been doing some YouTube stuff. We do have a YouTube channel. OnDog Training Academy has a YouTube channel. I've been putting out some shorts and other podcast stuff on there, and just other content, so you can check it out. But one of the videos I did recently was one of our training dogs, Blue, and he just was laying in the sun, just enjoying himself. And I'm sitting in the chair just watching him going, man, you don't have a worry in the world right now. It is, I think it was like, it's still cold today, but I think yesterday, this is when I did this video, was yesterday, I think it was like 4 degrees, 3 degrees, maybe minus wind chill for sure, and it was cold outside, so we couldn't go play, and so I was feeling bad that he wasn't going to be able to go out and do playtime outside as much, and he said, you know what, it's cool, I'm just going to lay on my back upside down, and just soak up this sun. And he laid there for a good amount of time, and I'm just sitting there watching him, and he made me, in that moment, put the phone down, and I actually walked over and sat in the sun with him and just hung out. Just took in the heat coming through the window or through the door, and just enjoying it, and it just allowed, I swear, like, it drops your blood pressure, it makes you more relaxed. You just sometimes need to live in the moment and take a step back. So kind of keep that stuff in mind. The next one is being grateful. Dogs, and maybe someone will argue with cats. I don't think cats are that grateful. I mean, honestly, come on, they're cats. I think if you skip one meal with them, they're ready to eat you. They're not that grateful. But dogs in particular, I think, are one of the most grateful animals. So like, they look at what you have, right? Like they're like, oh, I got toys. Oh, I'm so thankful. Thank you for giving me toys. And they want to play with their toys. You're giving them treats, different things like that. Dogs look at what they have. They're not going to, well, okay, this I could actually argue. I'm going to argue my own comment here. Dogs don't look at what they don't have. They're happy with what they have. Well, I think it's partly because dogs don't know things could be better when it comes to like toys and stuff. But I have seen dogs who want the toys the other dogs have. But they're very grateful. They'll take this old toy that they've been playing with for 5 years and play with it like it's the greatest thing in the world. When's the last time your kids, if you have any, had a toy for 5 years that they continue to play with? I bet it doesn't happen, right? Like we always want the new thing, right? Or like they're grateful in the sense that even though they get fed every day, when you're getting ready to feed them, they're so excited. They're like, oh my God, thank you. Yes, food's coming. I'm so happy. When you get home from work, they're so excited to see you. And it's the same level almost every day. They're like, yes, you're home. I'm so excited. Even though you've been doing this for, 52 weeks or whatever, like it's fine. Like I'm so happy. They're so grateful for life. And that to me, I think is something we should be as well, is just grateful for what we have. We're so, and I'm guilty of this. You look at people, you look at celebrities, you look at like all this other stuff, and you're like, I want what they have. And we work hard and we try to get to levels that are satisfactory for us. But to be honest, once you get to a level that you wanted to get to, there's going to be someone above you, and you're like, I want to be there now. And so we're always looking to be better, which I think is okay. But we also have to be grateful for where we are. Like I look at our situation, I'm like, you know what? We have a roof over our head. We're paying our bills, or we're able to put food on the table, or you have someone you love, or something's going on. Like you can look and just be thankful and grateful for what's going on in your life. And I think that's really, really important. The next one is one that I think is so needed right now. And I went on to a podcast yesterday that's going to be coming out later this month that I will share with everybody from somebody else. And on there, I went, in my opinion, something we need right now in this country, in this world, is more unconditional love. And this is something that your dogs are going to give you, right? They don't care. They don't care what your politics are, right? They don't care what sex you are. They don't care about your preferences. They don't care about your height or your weight. They don't care if you showered that day, I assume. I mean, maybe they do. But, it's just unconditional love. They just want to be with you and love you. And as long as you're fair to them and you love them back, they will be by your side for their whole life. That unconditional love is something I think that we need to be better at as people. We're letting the politics and the sexual preferences, the preferences just in general. I mean, there's people. So I live in Minnesota, and I'm a Vikings fan, but there are people who are Green Bay Packer fans that hate Vikings fans, and they won't even be friends with those Vikings fans, and vice versa. And it's sad that we're letting things like that, or things like even your political views to a degree, like we're letting stuff like that get in the way of friendships, of relationships of some kind. That unconditional love, I think, is something that really dogs are so good at, that we definitely could work on as a whole being, whole society. So that's another one. And that one to me is, I think, one of the more powerful ones. Your dog's going to be there for you no matter what happens. If you decide, to change something in your life, your dog's going to be like, cool, I support that. I don't care. And they just give you that unconditional love. The other thing then is dogs are, in my opinion, forever optimists, right? Like they want to play all the time. Like that's a great example. My dog Luda, when we come downstairs and I let him out, the first thing he does is grabs his toy and looks at me. And he's like, we get to play now? And, with it being cold out, I'm like, nah, buddy, not right now. It's on. He's like, okay. Drops his toy, goes to the bathroom, does his stuff. And then the next time I let him out, same thing. We play now? Like he's always hoping and looking forward and just like, hey, maybe this time I'm going to get to play. Right? Or he wants that treat. Like, so we do some work upstairs, or we're doing something upstairs, and he looks at the cookie jar like, do I get a treat now? Being very optimistic instead of like with people, we're probably not going to get the treat anyways, or they probably don't want to play with me. It doesn't matter. Dogs are always hopeful. And I think that's something we could be. We need to be more optimistic, more positive, more upbeat. I think putting that energy out in the world, in my opinion, whether you're a dog or a person or a cat or a bird or an iguana, I think putting that type of energy out in the world just makes things better. Even like dogs begging for attention. Will you pet me now? No, I'm not going to pet you. 2 minutes later, it comes back. Will you pet me now? Okay, fine, I'll pet you. Yay. And they're just always optimistic that this is going to be the time that I'm going to get that attention and I'm going to be happy and it's going to be awesome. The last one is, for me, aside from unconditional love, this one is one that I think we need to work on as people. And that is the ability to forgive. I think people make mistakes in their lives, right? And to a degree, I think we need to be better at forgiving that and moving forward. And for dogs, I mean, I'm guilty of this one. For dogs, it's something as simple as and everyone's done this, right? You step on your dog's tail. You step on your dog's foot. You didn't see him there, so you tripped on him, whatever. And your dog goes, arf, and screams and backs off or something like that. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And the dog comes right back to you like, it's okay. Like, I'm okay. And they come right back to you for that affection, for that love. They forgive us so fast for our mistakes. And, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting there and I, like, beat my dog and then go, oh, I'm sorry, bud. And my dog's like, okay. I mean, I think if you do something like that, your dog's going to definitely be hesitant on it. But honest mistakes and stuff, things that happen, I think dogs are very easy to forgive and forget, move on and trust you again. And I think that's super important. Like, I know my brother, and I'll tell this story because I don't even know if he listens to this podcast, but if he does, cool. If he, I don't think he does though, so I can say this. It doesn't matter. But like he told the story last week that he had his dog in the back of his truck, and in the not the bed of his truck, he had it in the cab. And he rolled the window up as he was driving because the wind was blowing, whatever, the back sliding window. So he went to close it and didn't realize it, but he closed his dog's tail in the window. And the dog screamed and cried, and it was a whole just mess. And he pulls over and finds out dog's tail stuck. Gets the dog's tail unstuck. Well, that dog still loves him. That dog still wants to be with him, still hangs out with him. The dog forgave the issue, right? The dog didn't go, oh my God, this happened. I don't want to trust anybody ever again. So that's something I think we as a society need to get better at. We need to get better at forgiving. We need to get better at all these things, right? Living in the moment. Go outside. Well, if you live by me, don't go outside. You'll freeze today. Stand in front of a bright window and just look outside. Put your phone in a different room and just stand there and look outside and just take in what you see. All right, lay in the sun today and just close your eyes and just think about nothing. Nothing. Just try it. I guarantee it's going to make you feel better. Being grateful. You want to be grateful. Be thankful for what you have. Look at the positive things in your life. This actually goes to being optimistic as well. Look at the positive things that are happening in your life. You can say, well, nothing good's happening right now. There's always something. And even if it's the smallest thing that you can hang your hat on, do it. I talk about this with training. Don't look for the big changes in your dog. Look for the small ones and celebrate the small ones. It's the same thing. Be grateful for what your dog is doing now that they're doing better at than what they did before. So if you have anything in your life that's going well, celebrate that and be grateful for that. Unconditional love, making sure that, you're just love somebody for being a good person. Like, to me, that is my prerequisite for loving somebody. Are you a good person? If you're a good person, I accept you. If you're a bad person, probably not. And I know sometimes it's hard to figure that out, but typically you can. Being a forever optimist, and then, of course, guys, just forgive people. So those were the 5 that I found to probably be the most important in my life. There's always more, and like I said, maybe we'll do this again. We'll see. But go out there and take some time for yourself. Enjoy your life. Don't get caught up in the rat race. Don't get caught up so deep that you're stressing yourself out every day. Give yourself a break. Live in the moment. I'd say chew on a bone, but I guess that's kind of just a dog thing. Maybe don't. If you want to chew on a bone, go for it. Your dog might get jealous, though. But just have a good time with the life that you have. Don't worry about the life that you want to have. Work that as a goal, whether it's training your dog or just you in general. But don't let that be soul-sucking to the point where you're letting life just go by. Enjoy it, guys. And of course, like always, I enjoyed this, and I'm going to enjoy probably next week when we talk again. So guys, we'll see you next week.